Do you want to write a book, but you can't seem to just be able to get through the process and you're stuck and you just can't quite identify why? It might be your mindset. It could be that you need a different identity altogether as a writer. In today's video, we're breaking down 5 mindsets that separate successful kingdom writers and those who finish their books from those who just stay stuck. Hey y'all, welcome to today's Live with Lisa. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and I create videos that help you learn how to write and live God's way. If you want to honor God with both your life and your writing, this is the place for you. We also go live here in partnership with Our Given Purpose Ministries, which is an incredible ministry that helps you to grow in your walk with God. So make sure you follow them as well. So when we talk about what really makes writers successful, I believe that one of the key things is not just about what you do, but it's about who you are. It's about the identity that you embody. It's about the calling from God that you take on for yourself. And to be honest with you, I believe that some writers really are successful because they embrace that identity. They embrace who they are as kingdom writers. They embrace their calling, while other writers tend to resist it. Now, we've talked a lot here on Live with Lisa about what it looks like to have the wrong mindset, things like fear of rejection or perfectionism or comparison. But we haven't spent as much time talking about what the right mindsets are for kingdom writers to have. And so that's what I want to dive into today. The first mindset, we're going to just jump right in. The first mindset that successful kingdom writers have is what I call the God first mindset. The God first mindset. Now, this one will probably be the most familiar to you all because we talk about this all the time on Live with Lisa, the importance of keeping God first. As a kingdom writer, God's direction has to come first. He has to be our priority. It's got to come above marketing, above logic, above strategy, above opinions, even above what the people that we care about really have to say, and even above logic and reason. We always need to make sure that we are listening to the Lord and that we're following his instructions before everything else. Proverbs 19:21 is a verse that I like to quote fairly often here on Live with Lisa. And it says, men make their plans, but it is the Lord's purpose that will prevail. And so we have to live by that scripture. It's not just something that we quote or something that we just talk about, but it's something that we live and that we know for ourselves. And it's something that we need to walk by. And it is something that I believe the most successful kingdom writers, the ones, we're not just talking about book sales, but the ones who are truly living by example and are honoring God with their work and with the books that he has given them, those writers are the ones that put God first in everything they do, including their writing. So we have to have that first and foremost above everything else. That is the most important mindset for us to have. The second mindset for us to have as kingdom writers is what I call the done is better than perfect mindset. Done is better than perfect. I love this quote from, I believe it came from Miles Monroe first. I've also heard it attributed to Les Brown. So I think they have similar versions of the same idea. But basically it says that, and I'm paraphrasing, that the cemetery is the richest place on earth because it is where you will find all of the books that were never written, all of the businesses that were never started, all of the ideas and the dreams that were never realized. And I think that that is so important for us to understand that principle and to really grab hold of it, that no one benefits when our ideas stay with us. When we don't execute, when we don't do the things that God has called us to do, everyone loses ultimately, including us. And so I want to also refer you back to a live stream that I did talking about 5 things that you give up, 5 ways that you pay a cost when you don't obey your God-given assignment, when you don't follow through on what God has called you to do as a kingdom writer. We pay a cost when we don't do that. And so in that live stream, I talked about 5 things that we end up missing out on if we don't follow through on that. So I encourage you to check that out. But what I want to emphasize here is that done is better than perfect. When we finish our work, when we publish it and we put it out into the world, that is the most important thing. We should not try to pursue perfection because it's not something that we can achieve. We are imperfect people, imperfect humans, and so we are going to produce imperfect things, including our books. And so we cannot get hung up on this idea of chasing perfection because it's a target that we can never reach. And that's okay. We need to embrace and be willing to accept this idea that we don't need to have a perfect book. We need to have a book that is done. And so I want to encourage you to adopt that mindset as kingdom writers, that your book doesn't have to be perfect. None of our books are, but they need to be done. And so we want to focus on producing the best book that we can, operating with excellence, and then being reasonable and not pursuing perfection, but pursuing getting our book out into the world and being obedient to God in the process. The next mindset that we need to adopt as successful kingdom writers is what I call what is commonly known as the kill your darlings mindset. This is not something original to me. This is a mindset that we talk about as I've really heard as writers for many years talk about this idea of killing your darlings. Many scholars claim that this quote actually originates from a British scholar named Sir Arthur Quiller Couch, who wrote about it in his book called On the Art of Writing. And so that's where it is believed to have been originally from. But basically what it means is that during the rewriting process, during the editing and revision stage of writing, you have to be willing to ruthlessly cut your work. You have to be able to cut even the most beloved and precious parts of your manuscripts, your favorites, those lines that you love, those lines that you think are just perfect and beautiful and wonderful, those characters that you love so much, that scene that you just absolutely adore. You've got to be willing to cut all of that if necessary, if it's going to help make your book stronger. You have to be willing to kill your darlings, even the things that are your favorites, if it will ultimately serve the best interest of the book as a whole. Now, the key word is as a whole. You don't want to just randomly slice and dice and cut your manuscript to shreds just for the sake of doing something. And you don't want to follow advice that tells you to do the same thing. Every change you make to your manuscript should be intentional, and there should be a thought process behind it. There should be a measure of thought behind it. And so we want to make sure that we are intentional about doing that we're not just doing whatever just because it seems like a good idea. But we need to make sure that we are willing to make those hard choices if they're necessary for the well-being of our book. So killing your darlings, not a fun mindset necessarily, but truly a necessary one for us to have as kingdom writers. The next mindset that we need to have is called the entrepreneur mindset. Now, this is one that a lot of writers, I believe, resist, and some of them overlook this mindset altogether. And I understand why. Many of us, if as creatives, we enjoy the process of writing. We enjoy the idea of sitting down with our manuscripts, typing away, writing away, and just having those ideas come to us and getting them out. We enjoy that process, and we love that part of being writers. And that's what many of us want to focus on. We don't want to worry about marketing. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about being on social media. Many of us as introverts shudder at the thought, right? Some of you might be looking at me and saying, I don't know how she does that, going live every week. And let me tell you, I am as introverted as they come. I am absolutely, needing my alone and quiet time. And that's another story for another day about how I came to do this in the first place. But what I want to encourage you to think about as writers is we have to do those other parts of the process that aren't as fun for us, that we may not enjoy as much. Regardless of whether you are choosing to traditionally publish with a bigger publisher in partnership with them, or you want to publish on your own as a self-published author, either way, you're going to have to look at your book as a business. You cannot just, well, you can, but I wouldn't advise it to just throw your book out into the world, cross your fingers, and just hope that things work out. That's not how we want to approach our work, especially as kingdom writers. We are called to do everything as unto the Lord. And whatever we do, we are supposed to work at it with all of our hearts, as Colossians says, because we are working for the Lord and not for men. So we need to desire a spirit of excellence. We need to pursue excellence with everything we do. And that means including how we set up our books for success. So we need to adopt a business mindset when we write our books, and particularly when we publish them. You are not just writing a story, you are creating a product and making it available for sale. And so many writers don't want to see their books as a business because they may not be particularly business savvy and they may not know a lot about how to run a business. And so my encouragement to you is that you aren't just going to learn how to write a book. You shouldn't just learn how to write a book if you want to publish it and make it available for sale. You need to also learn about the business of writing as well, what it means to market, what it means to find a good cover, what it means, or design a good cover and hire someone to do that, what it means to get the word out and using different media outlets to do that. All of those different things are important parts of the process. And they're things that don't have to be overwhelming. They don't have to be overwhelmingly challenging. You can walk through the process one step at a time, but it's important that, again, we are intentional about seeing our books as a business and seeing them as a product that we are making available to our readers. If we want our books to do well, we have to put forth that effort. We have to learn that skill of building a business and be willing to put that in place. And again, if we want to be obedient to the thing God is calling us to do, that is a part of the process. So not always, an easy thing to hear as far as writers go. Again, many of us as creatives, we don't like to necessarily think as much about the business part of writing, but it's important for us to do that. And there are so many resources and people and things that can help you with that process. You don't need to go at it alone. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on in the live stream about some resources that I am making available for you to help you through this process. So again, we want to make sure that if we're going to give our book a chance to do well and give it the best possible chance to do well, we need to learn about the business of writing, particularly how book marketing works. And lastly, the last mindset we're going to talk about today, which is so, so, so important for writers to understand, is what I call the crocodile mindset. The crocodile mindset. We need to adopt this mindset as successful kingdom writers. And what is the crocodile mindset? It basically means having a fin, just like a crocodile. We have to learn how to have a thick skin as writers. No matter which publishing path you choose, whether you go the traditional route or you choose to self-publish, you will experience some form of rejection on some level. If you go the traditional route, you'll experience it probably from agents when you're querying them and pitching your book to them, basically, in order to try to sign with them. You'll experience rejection from editors who work with publishing companies when your agent sends your manuscript to them and they say, thank you, but no thank you, right? When you're looking for that publishing deal, you're going to experience rejection there. You're going to experience rejection as a self-published author as well, whether it be just from readers personally, or even if you choose to use beta readers, if you choose to apply for different awards or different things like that, you are going to find at some point that someone does not like the book that you've written, and there's going to be rejection that comes from that. The key is to learn how to manage it. And I've done a whole video talking about this part of the process and what you can do to really help set you up for success regarding rejection in particular. It is really about how to take rejection like a pro. And so I want to encourage you to check out that video. It will give you some very practical tips and strategies to help you through that process. If you know it's coming, it's a lot easier for you to build up the support and the defense that you need to manage emotions when they happen, because they do happen to all of us. We all go through rejection as writers. And so we don't have a choice about that. But what we can choose is how we react to it. And so that live stream will help give you some advice for how to do that. But what I will say here for today is that, again, one of the most important things you can do is to know rejection is coming and to build up your just your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth, and your support system so that you can navigate that well. Because again, rejection happens to all of us. It doesn't matter how wonderful your book is. It doesn't matter how many people read it or how many other people love it. Somebody somewhere is going to find a reason to not like it. And you'll have to live with that. And in many cases, it doesn't even have anything to do with you personally. It could be things that they have going on. It could be that they woke up and had a bad day, right? They just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It could be that they didn't realize what kind of book you wrote and just had a bad reaction because of that. I have noticed that so many times when readers write poor reviews for a book, many times it's because they didn't understand what the promise that the book was making. The book set up certain expectations for them, and it did not follow through necessarily on what they were looking for and what they had hoped. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why that happens, and we can go into that another day, but it's important to understand that many times rejection, particularly from readers, is not really about you at all. And so when we understand that, it makes it easier for us to develop that crocodile mindset, that thick skin, where we don't allow things to easily affect us and to easily break our hearts. It's not going to feel good when people don't like our book. Obviously, we want everyone to love our book baby, right? But when we've built up these our self-esteem, and we've built up our support systems of people who really do care about us and support the work that we do, it makes it so much easier for us to navigate that process. But that is something that is absolutely essential for us as writers to do. We have to make sure that we have that thick skin, that crocodile mindset up here that makes it to where we're able to take rejection and just keep it moving. And so that is so important for us to do. Now, if you are looking for something to help you with developing these mindsets and really developing a strategy for how to walk through the writing process from start to finish, I want to encourage you to check out my new course that is coming out in just a few weeks called The Writer's Roadmap. Now, this is a course that I personally designed specifically to help writers through the writing process in a simple, unintimidating, straightforward way with clear, practical steps from start to finish to take you through the process. This is something that you can realistically complete in a weekend. This is not a 6-month long course for you to do, right? This is something that you can walk through and have clear steps, clear action steps, and really be able to walk through each of the steps without a whole lot of extra, without all of the complications and all of the just random details thrown in there. I don't do all that. I made this a straightforward, clear process for you to walk through that will really help you to take you from idea to polished manuscript that is ready to publish. And so if that's something that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and click the link in the description below, and that will take you to the waitlist so that you will be on one of the first people to know when the Writer's Roadmap is released and ready for you to purchase. So I hope that you enjoyed this live stream today. I hope it was encouraging to you and that it gave you some strategies for what kind of mindsets you need to adopt as a kingdom writer. Again, the goal is not just about focusing on just sales, but success as a kingdom writer is really about us following through in our God-given assignments. And so these are mindsets that if you adopt these, if you cultivate these mindsets in your own writing journey, they will help you to get to that process. They will help you get to the end of the publishing journey to where you have that finished book that God has called you to write. These mindsets are going to help you get there. So I hope that this encouraged you. I hope that it blessed you. And I will see you in the next Live with Lisa this time next week. Until next time, take care, God bless, and happy writing, y'all.